So we're going to start with the Lifetime Achievement Award. The SIMA Lifetime Achievement Award recipient shall be awarded to an individual who has made significant contributions to an individual who has left a lasting impact on the sport, industry, and our culture of surfing through a lifetime of achievements. And no one exemplifies that more than Shaun Tomson. And here to present the 2025 SIMA Lifetime Achievement Award, please give it up and welcome Rabbit Bartholomew.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, well, thanks. It's great to be here at the Waterman's Ball. I know we've got to hurry up now because it shuts down at 10. I met Shaun Tomson when we picked him up at the airport in 1974 on the North Shore. We drove straight out to Off the Wall. It was absolutely going off. Little did we know that a year later he would revolutionise deep tube riding at that exact spot. And that very next year, a couple of us Aussies arrived about mid-October. Shaun arrived on the 1st of October, and he'd marked his territory already. And it wasn't like a little kitty cat at home, it was like an African lion. And, Dan Merkel had this slideshow when the first day we got there, and it showed these shots and said, this is the next cover of Surfing Magazine, here's the next centre spread. I mean, I wasn't that happy about it. But Shaun, his tube riding, wow. I mean, I grew up with Michael Peterson, Peter Townend, and at a place called Kira, so I'd seen a few barrels. But Shaun didn't just go to the next level, he created a whole new dimension of tube riding. And Kelly Slater, the greatest surfer of all time, said recently that, what Shaun was doing in 1975, in the 21st century, riding Formula One surfboards, no one has bettered that tube riding. That's pretty cool. But, Shaun, he adjusted his power surfing. He was so good at Sunset Beach and Haleiwa. But he had a real affinity with the Banzai pipeline, and he really led the backside assault there during those winter seasons. Jeff Hackman, the greatest surfer of Sunset, arguably, of all time, said that, at Pipeline, Shaun Tomson was doing things that had never been done before. So another, breakthrough, revolutionary part of it. He was surfing out there with, guys like his beloved cousin Michael, and just really laying down new tracks on the backside of Pipeline. And, to me, he was surfing with commitment, a calculated, cavalier recklessness. And I think that's the kind of approach you've got to have to surf Pipeline. Shaun was always destined to be world number one. There was no world title in those years, but he definitely left the North Shore those years as the hottest surfer in the world, and that was vindicated 2 years later when he became the 1977 world champion. Shaun remained in the top 5 and top 10 for the next 10 to 12 years. His longevity really paved the way. Like in 1985, he led the world rankings all the way into the home stretch and was only mowed down by reigning world champion Tommy Carroll at the last event. So, back in those days, a 30-year-old world champion was unheard of. Nowadays, it's the norm. But, Shaun, since retirement, has continued to inspire. The two words that I would say for Shaun Tomson are integrity and inspiration. Now, this morning, I saw Shaun give a presentation at Todd Theodora's law firm up the coast, and it was unbelievable. It was the best public speaking I'd ever seen. He introduced me after him, and I went, for the first time ever, I went, wow, that's a hard act to follow. And, but he, through the code and through what he's doing in his life, Shaun continues to be a leader. He's one of the all-time greats of this sport. Well, without any further ado, please welcome the great man, Shaun Tomson, to accept the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you so much, Rabbit. Thank you for that. That is just such a wonderful, wonderful introduction. I had tears in my eyes. My greatest rival, a visionary guy who best surfers, best contest, best surfers. I mean, you changed the sport so Bugs. So much gratitude, pal. Love you, pal. So my beautiful wife, Carla, we've been married for 38 years. She just got dehydrated and fell, and she's fine. My sister's with her in hospital, and so she's great, and she sends her love. She said she took a look at me when I was 23 years old in those short shorts, and that was it. But my sister's with her, and she's fine. So just a couple of thank yous to Paul Nordie. We grew up together. Paul has done so much for the industry. Vipe Desai has done so much for the industry. We've got a table here, the WSL, the new CEO. I call him Ryan, Run Silent, Run Deep Crosby. Thank you for the amazing work that you've been doing for surfing. Really, the surfers love the path that is being followed. To my beautiful son, Luke, who is just turned out to be the greatest lad, greatest son that anyone could ever want. Every morning he comes in, he gives me a big kiss and cuddle, and before I let him out for school, if there's no friends there, I've got to get my 3 kisses, and I say to him, I love you more, I love you more than anything else in the whole wide world. So I hope I'm not embarrassing, but he is such a beautiful boy. My sister Tracy, who's with Carla at the hospital, and her husband John are just the most amazing people. And the reason that Rabbit is here tonight is because of my best mate Todd Theodora. He heard about the award and he said, "Oh, we got to bring Rabbit out here." And it just turned out so well. And then one of my great mates, Greg Harrison, here, drove down. Greg, all the surfers know him as Chandler from North Shore. When I paddle out with Greg, it's like they don't know who he is. They just think he's Chandler the Shaper. So I'd also like to give a special shout out to all the shapers. Now, I've had the opportunity during my career, and it's been a long career. I've been surfing for 60 years. And I've had the opportunity of having worked with 44 different shapers. So I'd like to thank Spider Murphy. I'd like to thank El Merrick. I'd like to thank Rusty Priestendorfer. I'd like to thank Glenn Manami, Tom Parrish, Bill Barnfield. And I'd also like to thank the father of Duke Iper, Ben Iper, who shaped me my first boards that I rode at Pipeline. So, they make our lives better, these shapers, and a big shout out to shapers. So during that little video, you got an indication of my mission and my purpose in life. And most of you know I lost my beautiful first son, Matthew, back in 2006 to a bad choice, and since then I took my life in a different direction, and I took my life down a path of purpose. What is purpose? A committed intention to create meaningful change for oneself and the broader world. And I found that I love speaking. I love speaking to people, and a number of years ago I wrote something called The Code, and I wrote it because of Surfrider Foundation. And Surfrider Foundation, both environmentalism and education, have become a very, very big part of my life. In 1984, when Surfrider Foundation first started, Glenn Henning phoned me up and he said, "Hey, Shaun, we're starting this new organization." I was the #1 guy in the world at that time. "We need an ambassador, and we need some positive words and a great picture that represent the ethos, the character of this organization." And I wrote 5 words. And those words have become a North Star for me, and they were "Do a good turn today," and had a cool picture of me doing a bottom turn at Banzai Pipeline. And those words have really motivated and inspired me for many, many years. Just do a good turn today. So simple. But the words came because of an association with Surfrider Foundation, and Surfrider Foundation and Chad Nelson are being honored tonight. So I started with my involvement with that organization so long ago, and it was the first time I got involved with something that was selfless. It wasn't about myself, it was about the community. And then many years later, my wife and I had my brand Instinct and sold my brand Instinct. We moved to the United States And I started a new brand called Solitude, and it was the world's first sustainable surfwear company. My wife was designing it, and we had our offices right near Rincon. And I get a phone call one day, "Hey, Shaun, it's Glenn Henning. Do you remember me?" I said, "Of course I remember you." He said, "Well, Rincon, your adopted home break, is facing a severe environmental challenge." He said all the homeowners are connected to septic tanks, and when it rains, they overflow, and the surfers are getting sick. And he said, "We need to solve this problem." And all the homes are very expensive. And I said, "It's a very big problem, Glenn." He said, "It's an $8 million problem." I went, "Whoa." And he said, "I'm going to give you a $100 budget to solve that problem. $100, $8 million. And I said, you're crazy, Glenn." He said, "No, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring a group of students, kids down to the beach. I'm going to bring the media, and I'm going to bring all these different government officials to the beach. And I want you to inspire the kids." So I went home and I thought, like, how can I inspire kids? I picked up a sheet of paper. I wrote 12 lines. Every line begins with "I will." And I called it Surfer's Code. I will never turn my back on the ocean. I will always paddle back out. And I printed them up on a little card. I gave them to the students. The students really liked them. The media liked them. And ultimately, we created a groundswell, and we solved the problem. Yes, we got many different environmental groups involved, and we raised a bond, and we got the city involved. But it came from the inspiration that I gave to kids. And where did I get the inspiration from? I got the inspiration from the ocean. I got the inspiration from surfing. So surfing for me has been a source of strength. It's been a source of inspiration. And now I've moved down this path of education and empowerment since I lost my beautiful boy to a bad choice. And I speak to millions of people, and I speak to them about how you can create a positive path through life. It's quite simple. Spend 15 minutes. I did it today with Todd Theodora's law firm, about 50 people. Everyone wrote the code, 12 lines. Every line begins with "I will." And I think together as a surfing tribe, all of us, we're connected. And the world is disconnected at the moment. I ask people when I do these events for thousands, text me a word that describes how you're feeling. And the words have been stress, anxiety, depression, disconnection. And I tell you what, I tell 3 surfing stories. I tell a story about riding at the Banzai pipeline, paddling over that edge with commitment, with courage. I tell a story about getting hammered at Waimea Bay, thinking I was going to die, but I paddled back out again. And I tell a story about interpersonal connectivity, surfing stories. And at the end, I ask people, text me a word that you're taking home with you. Hope and purpose. And that's what I do now. I like to think that through surfing, I give hope and purpose through the code. So thank you for this wonderful, wonderful award. I am so honored. Thank you.